feels good. Would you not agree? One might say, what feels good? And my answer is pretty much everything. Everything feels good until one decides not, that it no longer feels good. But pretty much everything feels good. And there's a simplicity within that I would like to capture. Capture meaning with your senses. And allow it to be something which is relatable for you. Something that is very easily returned back to again and again and again throughout your day. A constant, ideally. I'm often curious with myself and also with others the why something doesn't feel good. Why is that? What created it? And is it possible for me as the individual or for you as the individual to understand that why? To trace back just a few steps, not all the way. Often it's not even necessary, but just trace back a few steps to determine, oh yeah, that's how, that's the why. And then just simply move from there. So it's in the same way as when we are observing thought within meditation, we want to get to a place where it's increasingly more quiet and increasingly more subtle, so that then we're finding the thought right at its birthplace of experience. We understand it, and then it can just simply rest into a wave-like form. So it's no longer disturbing the gaze point of your meditation. So in that same way, we want to understand this why we go into this place of it no longer feels good. A large part, which I have noticed, is that the greater ability that one has in accepting where they are, who they are within any given moment, the easier it is to maintain connection to this good feeling place. The less one is just simply okay with who they are, where they are at any given moment, the less potential there is to maintain that quality that we were talking about, this simple goodness. So as always, it seems that the loop comes back to me as the individual or you as the individual, which is an incredibly valuable position to be holding, maintaining, developing. Because ultimately you're the one that can say yes or no. You're the one that is enabling the experience, which is surfacing as a request on go, on whether or not it should actually fully live out itself within your experience. And that is an empowering experience, because the quality is living within your experience, yours. So to establish a firm, grounded commitment to the simplicity of the fact that you are the one that is making the choice, making the decision, saying yes, saying no, and determining what will now influence your space. Now, taking that into consideration as we are moving around in our environments, in our worlds. And the reason why I bring that piece up is because oftentimes when working with meditation, individuals comment on, well, it's not me, but it's Susie. You know, she's just always in a bad mood and it affects me. Or Johnny says that one thing and just throws me off, whatever it may be. And it is true, but we want to enable ourselves to realize more and more the depth of the control that we have. Control, I mean dexterity, decision-making, ability to choose. And that somewhere along the way, and you could probably tell me when it occurred, there was a disarming, a disabling of the ability to manage one's environment so that nothing gets into you. Nothing gets underneath the skin, so to speak. And oftentimes that's something which occurred is so far back that it is the authoritative figures which were above us when we were younger. Or something in the school system. You had to behave a certain way, which was then disarming to this ability. As an example. So to begin to recreate the bond, the trust, the relationship that one has with themselves from this perspective, that it all feels good. The enabler of that, as I was saying before, is the ability to be just simply content. And this ability to rest into who you are, where you are, is a form of pratyahara. So this is the withdrawing of the senses, which is a very classic approach within the practice of meditation. Pratyahara works in such a way that we are creating less importance of the objects and experiences around us, outside of us, and putting more weight and importance to the experiences that we have inside. And in that simple developing, we give ourselves the chance to no longer be influenced by this external reality as the forefront of the experience, the forefront. It is more subtext, accents. So pratyahara enables the individual to be able to see between the lines through to what is the truth. So what is the truth? Pratyahara is developing the ability to connect to quiet, the most quiet of quiet places. Pratyahara has been developed through the observation that there is no other quiet place which exists within our world except for the place inside, deep, deep inside. It is so incredibly challenging to find quiet in the outside world, like true, absolute quiet. There's always a little murmur somewhere. People hike up to a cave and then all of a sudden there's a drip happening. Or a mosquito or a fly or wind. It's very challenging to find true quiet on the outside. But on the inside place, it's very, very easy. That's what it's made up of. It's made up of this quiet space. But pratyahara goes even further in its exploration because we're not speaking of solely the external experience that we're withdrawing our senses from, but also the internal outside places, which is including thought, which is including emotion, which is including personality. and going back, way back to the point, ideally, where we drop all of it and we're just pure witness, observer. And at that pure observing state, we no longer have any ties in, likes, dislikes, preferences. It just simply is. And the reason why it is because the quality of space which we are developing within meditation just simply feels good. So therefore, there's no need to go anywhere else because you're just simply resting in your home. It is your home. There's no other home that one has. Just one. The effects and prolonged exposure to a practice like pratyahara enables an individual to exercise our God-given right, our will, to see emotion as being benign, feelings as being benign, thought as being benign, until we give it context, meaning, purpose. This is a very strong personal development step. To be able just to watch your inner reality from a place of constructive organization. Just the truth of it. See between the lines. Oh, yeah, look, this is where I'm attached. This is where I kind of like that emotion, even though it's not good for me. Being your own best friend. The friend that sees something and then will let you know. Allowing that to mature into being your own teacher. And not accepting any bends within your practice, your sadhana. The rules of engagement that you in fact have put out. So there's a sweetness within the innocence of the approach, but there is a profound, strict quality as well. And that strict quality is within the softness. So what I mean by that is we only achieve the result, as we know, if we apply the effort. Without the effort, there's no result. So the decision is left to the individual. Weak discipline means then just weak results in the direction that you wish to achieve. Strong discipline means then strong results within the direction that you wish to achieve. Meditation is very, very much like this. Because of the relaxed state we go into, we get a flood of information. But that flood of information is transforming its conversation, its visual experience to attempt to match where you are, where you're going, what you're doing, so that it can be very useful. So oftentimes the deeper and more subtle we are entering into meditation, the more the mind will then create an experience for us to have. Colors and shapes and all kinds of wonderful things to look at, which represent something. And ideally, as we're developing pratyahara, we are allowing that which we see to be less and less interesting in all of the variations which it expresses itself in. Less and less interesting. And making ourselves, the simple experiences, as increasingly more interesting. That which one first thinks is boring, we want it to over time become enthralling. And the reason for that is so that there's no longer any reaching, lunging, reactivity. It's just the simple understanding that it is happening, and then at a certain point it will cease. It will no longer exist within the happening. No matter what it is that you're observing, experiencing, engaging with. Ideally, there is a very safe distance between you and that which you are observing. Unless you can confidently say that you are your children, you are your boyfriends or your girlfriends or your husbands or your wives or the cushion that you're sitting on. But if you cannot say that you are any of those things, even a thought, then it's not worth it really to establish such depth, such reliance on the variability, this unchanging. So through the practice of yoga and meditation, the research which has been developing says that there is something that is there which is constant, which is in you, which is you. There is something there that holds the key to all those profound questions that you have. There is a place inside. And the whole practice, which has been built out over thousands of years, is developed in such a way for you to have techniques that are going to take you to the realization of where and what that is. And at each step along the way, it is actually personal development, growth, understanding. So this is often why a topic or a practice like yoga or meditation is met with a little bit of resistance. Because that's what it's doing. It's actually emptying out the space, which has nothing there to begin with, until we decide that there's something that is there. So then what is this subtext of decision making, which seems to be you, but it's not? It's the acting you. Within your best interest, often. But within that best interest, many times it's not necessarily hitting the mark perfectly. So within the practices of yoga and meditation, there is a claim to a perfection. But nobody will ever know what that perfection is until one attains it. And that's how the yogis of the past have been able to maintain their QC. Because there's no other way around it. There's only one way to gain the knowledge. And once you have that direct experience, it's unshakable. It's a known fact. And we're talking about heights and depths, but each step along the way is as gratifying and as important. And what we are working with is the reactive mind. And I'm not framing this as a negative. It just simply is part of our human development. It's our human makeup. We have, reactive minds. Ooh, like that, strong. But also the other way too, reactive. And we want to create steadiness around it, so that what we see does not make us afraid, so that what we see doesn't necessarily make us run out and go do something right away. but rather we're able to, in a very methodical way, begin to relay back into ourselves and dance with it all. Dancing with it all. Cellularly, we are dancing. There's a vibration that exists. Teeming with activity, constantly teeming with activity. Making connections and moving and walking in these strange ways. But within that chaos, there is a profound balance. And that balance has the sensation that simply feels good. Is it true or not true? Within that balance is the rhythm that we're looking for, the making sense rhythm. And the reason for that is because of its connection to a universal form of intelligence, consciousness. And when I say universal consciousness, I'm not even talking about a special sixth sense or a magic, a reincarnation, lifetime after lifetime, big and grandiose. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a conscious intelligence that just simply flows through all things. And then meditation is the vehicle to develop an understanding as to how to connect to that passively. And from that passive connection, allow it to become permanent. Because it is so soft and passive, we become this conduit to allow that flow of intelligence to move through us. So that then these profound shifts begin to occur within one's own psychology, within one's own mind. Because no longer do we operate on a system which says, I have to do, I have to do, I have to do, I have to be, I am. And then rather, just simply is. It is. I am. And then begin to move within that rhythm. If a thought is not in support, then why would one have it? There has to be a reason. Why is that thought occurring again? Why is that feeling occurring again? What is this intelligence which is connected to all things, attempting to express to you as the individual? And we have to think in terms of instinct also, so not just intelligent, which is this refined form, but the instinct aspect also. Less thinking, not reactive, but guttural. Moves you. We start to join those two pieces together, that of the instinct and that of the intelligence, and then learn how to trust it. Learn how to trust in such a way that the world no longer looks so scary. That when you start to go deeper into yourself and your development, when the closet opens up and this funny looking skeleton costume comes out, or whatever it may be, you know that it's benign. to know that it's benign. Until we give context to it. Any questions so far? How are you doing, sir?
Fine. I was just thinking of the connection between yoga and meditation, which I'm sure that that's nothing new to you, that yoga is actually the physical manifestation of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
That we, in either case, we don't know what is going to come to consciousness until we actually engage in it, either meditation or yoga.
Mm-hmm.
We can't predetermine. We might think that we can, but in actual fact, until we're actually in the meditation or in the yoga pose, that's when we actually experience what it is that, in effect, we need to experience.
That's right. I would agree with you 100%. And the yoga is being a body of work. And the meditation is being a technique within that body of work. So the process of yoga uses many means to develop the body so that then it's ready for the moment to have that experience.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Working on the physical body so that then the body is more leaning towards comfort, but also on the energetic so that then the body can feel more efficiently with its own nervous system. And then relaying the experiences that we have within our body and the experiences that we have within the mind to each other, using the same electrical system that we develop with the nervous system, which is also known as the nadis on a little bit more subtle level. So the two are always working together. Mm-hmm. The body of the work and then the technique. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Nice. Any other questions?
So, I guess just lending to what he said, physiologically, like brain and belly are quite similar.
Mm-hmm.
In their makeup. So would you say that meditation would be the practice to harness intuition or to...
Most definitely.
Like
mm-hmm.
in terms of like that gut feeling or cultivating sort of that
trust.
Trust, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Trust to the quiet aspects of who we are, the less predominant and fiery.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are easily second-guessed, we are strengthening that. And meditation also deals with many things that are in the active state. So if the mind is seeing something, if you are feeling something, that is considered active. And meditation will, over time, in a quick amount of time, begin to dissolve those, all of that activity. So it dissolves everything that we wish to enhance and everything that we wish to get rid of at the same time, and leaves us with just the absolute minimum of what needs to be in order for us to understand. Does that make sense?
It's not like you're